stuff like that.
And then you have you fight the one Nova Dragon, and then or the White Dragon, whichever it is, and then you don't have to use Zidane. So you're telling me that I get to experience one of the best cutscenes in Final Fantasy history, and then I don't have to use the main character I hate so much? This team just got a lot better.
It's weird though, because they call it the Nova Dragon, but in Japanese it's Shinryu, the super boss from Final Fantasy V, and I thought that was a clever touch. I don't know why they didn't translate that, in a game full of references,
It's probably a localization thing,
I suppose.
It's the same reason that this guy are sick. But yeah, so this was released like very late in the PlayStation cycle. Like he referenced, it was one of the games that people's like, oh, it's PS2's back compatible. Oh, I'll play Final Fantasy IX on it. Not a bad plan. But then you had all the other games that came out on the PS1 that we mentioned before. And I unfortunately, because I didn't have a job back then, I wasn't old enough. I didn't really get a chance to play many of them until later, so unfortunately I can't offer too many opinions on them. But then came the PlayStation 2 era, and that was sort of a bipolar era because it has so many really good games, but then you also started to see the market get a little saturated with a lot of games. Like obviously Final Fantasy X came out, and that. A lot of people love that game. There is a lot to like about it, in my opinion, but there are things that are grating about it. Oh yeah, and yes, I know that they were trying to laugh on purpose to force it, but even then, oh my god. I liked the story. I liked the way the plot went. I liked a couple of the characters, but half the characters I just could not take seriously. I couldn't take Titus seriously because he was like the bratty teenage version of Meg Ryan. Titus, even better. Oh, I always said Titus because that Fox show called Titus came out right around the same time, and I always called it that. But then there was Lulu, the ultimate goth, who was hot, so hot. Yeah, exactly. It decided to be with Waka for some reason. I guess being on that island, and then Yuna.
He had some good.
Well, no, he wasn't at the time. Remember, he basically was the Detroit Lions of Blitzball back then.
Who actually won the first Blitzball match? No, seriously.
Well, yeah, he did. They conveniently choose via plot to win their first match in forever without Titus that very time when they got seeded. And then he had to play Blitzball to get his ultimate weapon. Oh yes.
Waka, like you said, yeah, goofy, I agree, but he really becomes kind of a prick, with his emphasis on Yevon, especially at Riku's expense, and then as he grows and even apologizes to her later, but the game was building to something, but this was like, especially when she talks about mankind, well, you'll see, yeah.
You must choose the one whom I will change.
I'm like, it's myth all over again. The heroes who sacrifice themselves come back as the fallen heroes. It's like, oh no.
There must be a bond between chosen and summoner, for that is what the final summoning embodies. The bond between husband and wife, mother and child,
well, unless you're into
between
that
friends.
Even though myth isn't really RPG, but it's clear that it's sad. It's really, especially because of the way I summed up in the story to one of my friends. Final Fantasy IX, Final Fantasy X, why religion sucks.
Yeah, it did seem to be writing, very,
not to get too much.
Well, I don't know about religion in general, but I think it was making more of a attack on organized religion. Because remember the Maesters were all, half of them were already dead, and that was complete blasphemy to them, Seymour, and whichever the senior one was, that was his boss or something. Oh god.
I can say that better, like GamePro the way he said it, the mindless tradition, obedience and of tradition.
Granted, it doesn't necessarily, it doesn't have, if that's true of any authority, it doesn't have to go into invoke religion to, have that kind of storyline. Heck, you could say that was a storyline in Shipwreck, totally company line, or they will kill you.
But
Lord.
let me go to right before the battle.
There must be another
Human alive. And now we're watching like holospheres or whatever they were. I forget what they were called.
So that's why Jack
But
someday it'll be.
I mean, come on. The final boss besides Jack is called Sin, for God's
Bond of
sake.
spirits
No pun
tested.
intended.
It is never ending.
But yeah, I mean, Final Fantasy X, you know, came out relatively early in the PS2 cycle. Like, do anyone remember what year it did come out? Final Fantasy X, anyone remember the exact year it came out? I forget.
December 2001.
Yeah, so and did 9 came out in 2000 or 99?
Yeah, 2000. Well, June, but yeah, 2000.
Oh yeah, so
It was 99.
Oh yeah, so they were churning out these Final Fantasy games like
Yeah, they were
so
still
more rapidly than they ever had
solid
been. I mean, you know, we had Final Fantasy 1 way back on the NES, then you only had 2 on the Super Nintendo, and now it's boom, 7, 8, 9, 10, Tactics. That's another one I need to talk about.
Please, yeah.
But yeah, then, you know, on the PS, this is more prevalent on the PS2, but on the PS1 there was obviously Final Fantasy Tactics. And
Actually, let me just finish this just because I love
All right, well,
scenes now.
Sin will stop coming back, yeah?
She's just so cold and impersonal.
Someday
You
it'll
can
be
feel the
gone,
characters
yeah.
breaking down here, you know, and
Will
really like.
humanity
everything they know is a lie, even more so than they already
And
realize.
Tidus, as weak as the character as he is, because he's not
This
from this
cannot
world,
be.
he props them up and reminds them
The
they still got
teachings
something to
state that we
do.
can exercise sin with complete atonement. It's been our only hope all these years.
Well, Orin already knows, but he's kind of being that like, wait a minute, you could have told us this? Well, yeah, I could have.
I don't think he knew either, but you know, like when she, you know, you can say she's given with malice, you know, when she says hope is comforting, but at the same time, you know, you can give the conspiracy theories, but I don't think she knew either. You know, like they wanted people to remember you, Yevon, and stuff like that, but I don't think it was necessarily an active conspiracy, like she knew how to destroy Sin. She just wanted to keep his memory alive, and that was Xanarkin and stuff, and unfortunately it came at the expense of everyone.
Well, it also
else's spirit.
consolidated her power, so she might have not known the solution, but she knew that she didn't want to find one.
Yeah, that's
kind of
true.
like the people who are cynical about the healthcare industry think that they don't want to cure diseases because they'd rather sell you a pill that you can take every day for the rest of your life, for instance. But moving on though to, like, for instance, I mentioned Final Fantasy Tactics.
Yeah, let's go
and,
to it.
that game was awesome when it came out. There's so much to talk about, you know, like your army of monk ninjas, and the stupid and the Velius Ygraf fight.
Yeah.
Which, if you weren't high enough level, you had to reset the game if you didn't have another save file because you couldn't go back. But as great as that game was, it did spawn a lot. It didn't really spawn as many games like it on the PS1 as it did on the PS2. That's when a lot more of those games started coming out. Like, how many people played the Disgaea series? I haven't played much of it, but I have played the 4th game on the PS3. But a friend of mine is a huge fan of that series, and that and other games made by a company like Phantom Brave were all very similar. They had the grid-based gameplay, lots of, you know, this strategic tactic style system, and and granted, some of them were more traditional, some of them got absolutely absurd, like this guy.
Oh, hang on.